So, in the first episode, we played the first 2 months of Fabio Grosso's Braga career. We won almost every single game, we found our best 11 players, and we started to strengthen our youth academy. Today we'll be playing the next 2 months, including 3 Champions League games, a cup game, and 4 league matches against some of the worst teams in Portugal. It's guaranteed goals, so let's begin. We're going to be starting off with a home match against Chelsea in the Champions League. Chelsea have a very annoying squad to play against. Anyone who's played a serious amount of Ultimate Team will know Wissam Ben Yedder, and he is just as annoying to play against in career mode. We didn't have to give him too many chances, in fact it took just 1 penalty for him to open his account. Injury to Herrera in the process as well was a really bad first 10 minutes for us. I don't know what's happening on the training ground, not only did Banza miss that, but almost every one of our players has been injured in the past couple of months. Oliveira was playing like he was injured by just leaving a massive hole for Ben Yedder to get into, but thankfully he didn't score on that occasion. However, he would then set up Sterling for a nice shot that went straight through our goalkeeper's legs, and our defender on the line didn't feel like trying to stop it, so all of a sudden it was 2-0. Ben Yedder would get a second goal and it would make it 3-0 after 78 minutes, and really the scoreline wasn't really that fair. I thought we played quite well, but Ben Yedder here, you can see we can't even foul him. He just manages to bundle his way through, and Sterling's a very similar player when the AI's got them. All of a sudden it's 4-0. This felt very unfair. I think 2-1 or 2-0 would have been a good result. A 4-0 loss at home is pretty shocking. We had a good chance though to try and make up for this big loss. We were playing away, but this time to Rio Ave, one of the worst teams in the league. They aren't doing too well. I think they're currently 2nd or 3rd bottom. Then they have an alright squad. Martinez over here is a decent player. They would then score the most comedy goal after 37 minutes. We hadn't really had a chance at this point, and we wouldn't get one until the 55th minute. When you get such a limited amount of chances against such a bad team, you don't want your left back to be taking the shot. Rio Ave showed exactly why, as their midfielder managed to power one in, much better than Sequeira had done at the other end. Banza did a typical corner header. This guy's such a beast in the air. He made it 2-1 with 20 minutes left. We went all out attack. We knew we had a decent chance of trying to get an equaliser, but an Ave free kick would hit the post, and then Juno would be there to get the rebound. It was really Oliveira who blasted it into his shins, but somehow the ball made it in and we lost 3-1. Maritimo were up next. So this is another one of the worst teams in Portugal, so hopefully we can do a little bit better here. We actually did have a couple of early chances. The first one fell to Banza, and the second one fell for Defrel. And Defrel actually managed to finish his off and put us 1-0 up, which was good because we were on a bit of a streak of losing at this point. Mateus then kept us in front after 48 minutes, before my favourite winger on the game this year, Thales Magno, managed to cut inside. He then put an outside boot cross across the goal. It fell to Horta. Horta tried to cut inside. Gonzalez, the young defensive midfielder, proved why he's not a young striker and blasted it wide from pretty close. They would then have one last shot just before the end of the match, but that's exactly how it would end, 1-0, and we'd halted the run of defeats. One thing I got a lot of suggestions for before was that we should try and incorporate storylines into the save, so that's exactly what we've done here. We had an off-field incident between 2 defenders, and we chose to side with our centre-back. So Nuno Sequeira will be leaving the club to join PSV at the end of January's transfer window. You can see we added him to the transfer list. He got snapped up super quick, and now he's going to be playing his football in Holland. So you can see we're top of the group after 3 games, which after a 4-0 loss, really isn't too bad. Next up, we were going to London though to play Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Already losing 4-0, we were just hoping to do slightly better than that. Another 4-0 would be embarrassing, so if we could keep it to a 1 or a 2-0 loss, we'd honestly actually be quite happy with that result. If the unthinkable happened and we managed to beat Chelsea, we were pretty much into the knockout stages of the Champions League. After being greeted by a massive picture of Ashley Cole, the Braga boys were ready to perform. Lukaku was taking their free kicks from deep, which is a bit of a strange decision, but you know, it worked out well as Sterling put them 1-0 up after just 3 minutes. Even worse, just 20 minutes later, Silas went down with a knee injury. Now he's going to be out for 3 to 4 months, so that's the majority of the rest of our season. We're going to be playing one of Vitinha or Defel up front with Banza. It's not too bad, but when Koulibaly's doing stuff like that, it's almost impossible to do comebacks, especially when you haven't got your best striker on the pitch. The difficulty level of this match was insane. We just about prevented Sterling making it 3-0 after 48 minutes. But Berardi's shot was almost unstoppable. He scooped it with the outside of his foot, something that of course Portuguese icon Quaresma loved to do. We tried to sweat a goal and make it 3-1, but unfortunately we couldn't even do that. Thales Magno got the ball taken off him just before he could finish. Lukaku didn't get the ball taken off him, he managed to score, and then did another trademark Lukaku triple backflip somersault celebration, just like he loves to do in real life. And that was that. It was another 4-0 loss. Braga had been destroyed by Chelsea. It seemed like their squad was set up solely to destroy ours with really agile players and Lukaku at front. It's exactly what we fear when we have centre-backs like ours. But next up was a trip to GD Chavez, who are again one of the worst teams in the league. We got things off to a good start with Thales Magno flying into challenges, Gomez getting the ball out wide, and our first shot on target after just 3 minutes. Before the 10th minute had finished, Thales Magno was playing through Vitinha. You can see Banza there in the perfect position for a pullback, but he doesn't need him. Vitinha goes for the corner and finds the side netting. What a good goal that was, ran straight through, and after 15 minutes we had a chance to make it 2-0. Vitinha's not great at free kicks, but he did manage to stick another one in, a second free kick in 2 episodes. I think we're starting to get the hang of them now. So he takes the bow, we're 2-0 up after 15 minutes, what could go wrong? Mateus proved that something could go wrong. Isaiah would then play it through to Mateus Fernandes, and it was 2-1. All of a sudden, we were looking a little bit shaky. The player to watch was Vitinha, of course, for the second half, and it was actually Thales Magno who would have the next challenge. Not so good in the air, and he's proved exactly why he's playing as an attacking midfielder instead of a winger. Gomez basically missed an open goal from less than 1 metre out. I don't know how he even did that, but we still managed to hang on and get the 2-1 win. All these little wins against these bad teams are starting to rack up, and all of a sudden we've got a 5-point lead in first place, so things are looking pretty good for Braga. Next up was a cup game against Benfica, and it was at Benfica Stadium. Realistically, they probably should have scored there after 10-15 minutes, but we just about managed to keep them out. You can't keep out shots like that though. Vitinha hit it with all the power of a cannon and all the accuracy of a sniper rifle. What a hit that was. But not much would really happen until about the 70th minute. Vitinha had a chance to finish the game off there and make it 2-0, but he couldn't quite do it. Enzo had another long shot trying to do the exact same thing that Vitinha had done in the first half, but the next chance wouldn't come until the last minutes of the game. Seferovic would win the header, Mateus would palm it out for a corner, but the referee would say that was enough. The game was done. It didn't come without casualties though. We were going to miss Oliveira for 5 days and Musrati for another 4 weeks, as he's our best defensive midfielder by far. Having Silas, Moratti and Oliveira all out at the same time meant we had a very weak squad to face Shakhtar Donetsk. However, we would nearly take the lead after 5 minutes, a header from a corner being palmed just wide. The big gap that Oliveira has left can be found there, and Maynor Solomon managed to find it. He rounded the goalkeeper, blasted it into basically an open net, and it was 1-0 to Shakhtar. Thales Magno was 1-on-1, he tried to do a ball roll and go round the goalkeeper, but he couldn't quite do it. He would get another chance just a few minutes later, he would chip it up, and Defrel again would basically miss an open goal. Banza, however, never misses in the Champions League. This guy loves the competition. With just one more Champions League match after this one left, we were going to need him to score against AC Milan if we had any chance of progressing to the knockout round. But Gomez had a chance to try and win this match already. His pullback to Vitinha found Andre Horta in the box. He couldn't quite turn, and it's questionable if that should be a penalty, but you're never going to get those when you're playing in Ukraine. They would finish the match out by just managing to hold the ball in the corner. It was 1-1, and that was a pretty good result for Shakhtar and not so good for us, because we did need to now win our last match against AC Milan to stay in the Champions League. Final match of the episode is going to be against Casa Pia. So these guys are the bottom team in the league. They're absolutely awful. They've got 1 or 2 decent players, but you can see they already went 1-0 up from a header that just about dribbled into the corner. We managed to equalise after 34 minutes with what I'd say is a better goal. Vitinha's sort of replacing Silas at front, but unfortunately we still have a couple of months without him playing for us. We did have a chance for a spectacular goal with Banza, but his overhead kick only went up. So it was 1-1 after the first half, but it was actually Casapia who would then have the next chance. Another free kick hit the bar, but thankfully this time it didn't fall to a Casapia player in the box to make it a goal. They would have another chance after 70 minutes. It was all Casapia, if I'm being totally honest. The ball would ricochet, but Mateus was just about able to keep Godwin's saviour's shot out of our net. We would keep pressing, trying to press up the pitch. Somehow Banza couldn't hold off this guy's centre-back. They managed to just keep it there, and they'd see out the game and make it 1-1. The important thing here was really not to lose. Casapia are an okay team. They seem to do way better against the better teams than they do the worst teams for some reason. But getting a 1-1 after being 1-0 down, we can't really argue with that. Hopefully